You're not here by accident. Something deep within you, perhaps your intuition, has guided you to this exact moment, to this very video. And once you finish watching, you'll begin to understand why. Maybe lately you've felt overwhelmed, like your life is spiraling into chaos filled with uncertainty, doubt, and challenges that seem to have no reason or purpose. But what if all of this is not the end, but the beginning? What if everything you're facing right now is a sacred signal, a sign that you're on the edge of the most powerful, meaningful, and beautiful transformation of your life? You see, the universe doesn't always shout. It whispers. It nudges you gently through feelings, setbacks, or strange coincidences. And if we ignore those whispers, eventually, it sends something we can no longer overlook. A breakdown, a shift, a wake-up call. Sadly, most people miss the signs. They call them bad luck or misfortune. They give up right before the breakthrough, but not you. You're here, and that means you're ready. Today, I'm going to guide you through 7 powerful signs that your life is preparing for deep transformation. And if even 3 of them resonate with you, then yes, your reality is already beginning to change. Begin with the first sign. You begin questioning everything you thought you knew about life. Lately, have you found yourself reflecting on your beliefs? Questioning your goals, your values, even your sense of identity? This isn't random. Something within you has already started shifting, subtly but profoundly. It's not visible yet, but it's real. It's as if the old mental structures, the ones you used to rely on, are slowly breaking down. And while it feels uncomfortable, that discomfort is sacred. It means you're awakening. This is not a crisis. It's an initiation. The universe is inviting you to dismantle the illusions you've lived under, so you can make room for truth. Suddenly, the world feels unfamiliar. What once made perfect sense now feels hollow or disconnected. And while it may feel like you're losing your footing, what you're actually doing is finding your path. This confusion, it's a spiritual cleansing, a breaking down of false identities, the lies, the masks, the roles, all stripped away so the authentic you can be born. As Carl Jung once said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. You're waking up. This questioning, it's not a detour. It's the start of the journey. You're not broken. You're breaking free, and it's not just your beliefs that are being challenged. Your habits may be changing. Your daily routines, even the people in your life, they might begin to shift or fall away. Why? Because you're shedding everything that no longer aligns with your soul's evolution. Think of it as an internal detox. What nourishes your spirit stays. What drains it leaves. And yes, it's hard. Letting go of what's familiar, even if it no longer serves you, can feel like losing a part of yourself. But the truth is, you're not losing yourself. You're meeting the real you for the very first time. What comes after? That's where the magic begins. You'll start to sense something. A quiet but persistent feeling, part fear, part excitement. It's your intuition speaking, letting you know something extraordinary is on the way. And that feeling, that deep sense of anticipation, it's not a coincidence. It's your soul awakening. Let's move to the second sign. You feel detached from things that once mattered deeply. You might notice this shift quietly at first. That TV show you once couldn't miss, now it bores you. The conversations you used to enjoy, suddenly they feel shallow. The goals you once chased, they no longer spark anything inside you. This isn't laziness. It's not depression. It's transformation. Your soul is no longer satisfied by surface-level stimulation. It's beginning to crave depth, meaning authenticity. You might even feel isolated, misunderstood, like you no longer fit into the places that once felt like home. And while that may hurt, it's a sacred kind of loneliness. Because when you outgrow a version of yourself, there will always be an in-between stage, a space where the old no longer fits and the new hasn't fully formed yet. You are in that space now, and it's okay. It's where all meaningful change begins. Carl Jung spoke deeply about this process of inner transformation. He believed that when we feel disconnected from the external world, it's because something new is forming inside us, something not yet visible, but powerfully real. There is no coming to consciousness without pain, Jung said. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. But you're not avoiding it. You're walking right into the unknown. That takes courage. And here's the third sign. You're more sensitive to energy, especially in people. Suddenly, certain environments drain you. Some conversations feel like emotional noise. You might even feel the need to spend more time alone, in silence, just to recharge. This is not weakness. This is awareness. You're starting to pick up on energies that once went unnoticed. It's like your emotional radar has become sharper, clearer. You sense when someone's not being authentic. You notice hidden tensions in a room. You pick up on the unspoken truth between the words. And while this sensitivity might feel overwhelming, at times it's actually one of your greatest gifts, because now you're no longer fooled by appearances. You're no longer seduced by charm or titles or loud confidence. You're starting to see people for who they really are. And in turn, you're beginning to see yourself more clearly. This brings us to the fourth sign. You crave solitude not to escape, but to connect. There's a difference between isolation and solitude. Isolation is rooted in fear running from the world, but solitude is sacred. It's a return to the self. You've likely found yourself pulling back from distractions, less interested in constant stimulation, more drawn to journaling, walking in nature, reading, meditating, anything that brings you back to stillness. Because in that stillness, you begin to hear something you've forgotten, your own inner voice, and it doesn't scream, it whispers. Softly, consistently, patiently. It doesn't demand. It invites. Solitude gives space for that voice to rise again, and once you start hearing it, you won't want to go back to the noise. Jung taught that this reconnection with the inner world is vital, not just for healing, but for becoming whole. Your visions will become clear, he wrote, only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. This awakening happens quietly, and most people miss it because they're afraid to be alone. But you've chosen to listen. In a world addicted to speed, your stillness is rebellion. In a culture obsessed with noise, your silence is power. Let's continue with the fifth sign of deep psychological transformation. You begin questioning everything you once believed. What once felt certain no longer feels so solid. Beliefs you inherited from family, culture, religion, Even your education, you start to examine them one by one, not out of rebellion, but out of curiosity, out of a deep need to understand what is actually true for you. You may find yourself asking, do I really believe this? Or was I taught to? Does this value still reflect who I am today? Is this my truth or just my programming? This questioning can be disorienting. You might feel like the ground is shifting beneath you. Carl Jung saw this kind of crisis not as a breakdown, but as a breakthrough. Thoroughly unprepared, we take the step into the afternoon of life, he wrote. Worse still, we take this step with the false presupposition that our truths and ideals will serve us as hitherto, but we cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning. This moment marks a transition from blind acceptance to conscious choice, from inherited belief to inner truth, and that brings us to the sixth sign. You feel called to something greater, though you may not know what it is. You can't explain it. You may not even have words for it, but there's a growing pull, a sense that your current life is too small for who you're becoming. You might feel a quiet discomfort with your job, your lifestyle, even your relationships. Not because they're bad, but because they don't feel aligned anymore. There's a whisper inside you that says, there's more, not more stuff, but more meaning, more purpose, more authenticity. This feeling often precedes what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming your most whole and unique self. And the beginning of that process is often marked by dissatisfaction, discontent, restlessness. It's your psyche's way of signaling something needs to shift. Something wants to emerge, and though this urge might not make sense to anyone else, you feel it like a quiet fire under your skin. The world around you may tell you to settle, to be grateful, to stay where it's safe, but your soul wants to grow. And here's the seventh sign. You're drawn to deeper truths, philosophy, psychology, spirituality, while others might be chasing success, entertainment, or distraction. You find yourself pulled toward inner work. You crave understanding. You want to know why people behave the way they do. You want to understand yourself. You want to understand life. Books on shadow work, Carl Jung, mindfulness, trauma healing. These are no longer just interesting. They feel essential. You begin to realize that life isn't just about surviving. It's about evolving, healing, expanding your awareness. And through this search, you discover something beautiful. That wisdom doesn't just come from outside. It also lives inside you. The more you study the human mind, the more you begin to recognize your own patterns. The more you explore philosophy, the more you clarify your personal values. The more you turn inward, the more empowered you become. This is no small shift. It marks the beginning of a sacred journey, the path of conscious living, and while it may not be easy, it is the most worthwhile path you'll ever take. Let's continue with the eighth sign of deep psychological transformation. You begin letting go of people, even ones you love. This is one of the most painful stages of transformation, because as you change internally, your relationships inevitably shift to. You may notice that certain friendships no longer feel nourishing. Conversations that once excited you now feel hollow. And some connections, even long-standing ones, begin to fade. It's not that you suddenly stop caring. It's that your energy begins to seek authenticity, depth, mutual growth. And when a relationship is built on roles you've outgrown, it starts to fall apart gently or dramatically. This can bring guilt, fear, even grief. But Jung reminds us the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And sometimes, in order to become who you truly are, you must release who you've been, and with it, the relationships that only made sense for your former self. Letting go doesn't always mean cutting ties. Sometimes it means detaching from the need to be understood. It means accepting that some people won't join you on this next part of the journey. And that's okay, because the space you create through these goodbyes becomes the space where your real tribe can find you. Which brings us to the 9th sign. You no longer seek external validation the way you used to. There was a time when likes, approval, praise, and agreement felt essential to your self-worth. But as you go deeper into yourself, you begin to notice how fleeting that kind of validation really is. You start asking, do I actually believe in this choice? Or am I just afraid of being judged? Am I doing this for me or for applause? And in that awareness, something powerful happens. You stop chasing. You stop performing. You stop bending yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. This doesn't mean you no longer care about others. It means you stop abandoning yourself for their comfort. You begin to live from a deeper source. You trust your intuition more than the crowd's reaction. You start to realize that true peace doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being aligned. Jung believed this inner alignment is what the process of individuation is truly about. Not becoming perfect, but becoming whole. Which brings us to the 10th and final sign for today. You begin to experience moments of stillness that feel sacred. In the past, silence may have felt uncomfortable. You may have filled every empty moment with noise, music, scrolling, talking, doing. But now, you find yourself drawn to quiet, to solitude, to stillness. Because in that silence, something profound begins to emerge. A presence, a clarity, a connection with something greater than yourself. You may begin to notice synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that feel like life is responding to your inner state. You might catch yourself smiling for no reason, feeling gratitude in the middle of doing nothing, sensing a gentle trust in the flow of life. These are not accidents. They are signs that your nervous system is healing, that your mind is less reactive, that your soul is finally feeling safe to just be. Carl Jung referred to this as the reunion of the conscious and unconscious, a moment when the divided parts of you start coming back together. And while these moments may be brief, they leave a lasting imprint. They remind you of who you really are, beneath the masks, the wounds, and the noise. They show you that the journey inward was always worth it, for deep psychology and life philosophy. You've now walked through 10 signs of deep psychological transformation. But here's the truth Jung would want you to remember. These signs are not goals. They are not boxes to check off. They are invitations to return to yourself. You see, transformation isn't linear. It doesn't follow a straight path. Some days you feel expansive. Other days the shadows return. And that's okay, because healing isn't about never falling back. It's about returning faster each time, with more awareness, more compassion, and more courage. Carl Jung often said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And yet what he gave us through his life's work was hope. Hope that within our suffering lies meaning. That our darkness is not an enemy, but a guide. That the soul knows the way home, if only we dare to listen. So if you've been feeling like the world around you no longer fits, if you've been pulled inward, questioning your path, your relationships, your purpose, you're not breaking. You're awakening. You're shedding what no longer resonates to make space for something truer. You're not lost. You're being reshaped, and you don't need to rush. Real change takes time. It requires honesty, surrender, and an unwavering commitment to walk the path of your own becoming. And no, not everyone will understand this journey. Not everyone will stay, but that's part of the transformation too. Because as you align more deeply with your truth, the universe begins to respond in kind. You meet new people. Opportunities arise. Doors open, often where you least expect. This is not a fantasy, it's a shift. A subtle, sacred reordering of your inner and outer worlds. So trust the process. Honor your growth. And most of all, keep choosing yourself again and again and again. Not just in the big decisions, but in the quiet ones. In the moments when it feels easier to shrink. Choose to expand. In the moments when the noise gets loud. Return to your center. In the moments when doubt creeps in. Remind yourself, I am not behind. I am not broken. I am becoming. And as you continue to grow, to heal, to transform, remember this: you are not alone. There are countless others walking this same path, quietly, bravely, and right now, through this video, you are connected to them, to a global community of people who are choosing consciousness over comfort, growth over fear, truth over approval. So if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of something you'd forgotten, leave a comment. Tell us what part of the journey you're in. Share one thing you're learning about yourself right now, because your words might be the mirror someone else needs. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Like this video. And share it with someone who's ready to awaken. Together, let's continue building a community of thoughtful, conscious souls ready to live with depth, truth, and self-love. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And most of all, thank you for choosing you.